called Qurbi Ilahi. Such nearing person is in fact spiritual personality. In Islam, submission to the real essence of Quran and Sunnah guarantees the equation of nearness to Allah. Quran is the fountainhead of the wisdom of both this and the next world. And Sunnah works to the interpretation of this mighty source of guidance and knowledge that is Quran. The glorious and beloved Prophet Muhammad is reported to have said, I leave two things with you, namely Quran and Sunnah. Having stuck to it tightly, you would never get misled. Beloved Prophet said, Taraktu fikum amrayn lan tadillu ma tamassaktum bihima kitab Allahi wa sunnatu nabiyyi. Unfortunately, after the decline of true and pure teaching and practice of knowing and moral in conduct, the real face of original and justified mysticism also distorted. Upon the translation of Greek philosophical works and literature, a new view of suspicion and speculation dominated the simple and plain doctrines of mysticism. New doctrines, notions and idea of Hinduism, Zoroastrian teaching also exercised a deep impact on the Islamic Sufism. Some proclaimed that Sufism or Islamic mysticism is free from the restrictions of Sharia. Others thought Sufism is a separate religion of mental experience and limited to just dance and music. With the passing of time, justified and real mysticism or Sufism lost from people. What is real Sufism or Islamic mysticism? What are its conditions and approved form of it? What is the scope and limit of Sufism in the light of Quran and Sunnah? What is Quranic verdict about the justification of Sufism as a form or kind or source of spirituality? All the above questions are addressed in this paper, and hope Dr. Dicky Sofjan will publish it, then we all will read inshallah. Okay, the way of life and deen of truth for which the Holy Prophet was sent or appointed to pursue people, and he himself was perfect model to that in person. Therefore, his lifestyle is the very deen of truth and that straight way following which a man can entitle all the blessing and grace of Allah. Even come to be his beloved one of Allah, if this lifestyle of the beloved Prophet is analyzed and his moral conduct is probed, three of the following faculties will come to the surface. Number one, faith and belief. That's to say, to believe and verify such unseen truth and fact like belief in essence and attributes of Allah, prophethood and revelation, angels, day of the judgment, resurrection, heaven and hell, as reported by the Prophet of Allah as truth. This is the most pivotal and important faculty of the deen of truth. It is basis of the entire deen. This very faculty is the subject matter of our knowledge and creeds. Number two, goodness or noble acts. By this here, it means the total practical or applied aspect of deen which is related to external and exhibiting parts, in which includes rites and rituals, worship, all social instructions, transactions, compliments and formalities. This faculty is a perfect framework of deen, and this is the very deen applied aspect of Islamic system. And Islamic jurisprudence is chiefly concerned with this faculty in particular. Number three, mental and spiritual purification and moral status of mind. Those all who are in one or other form related to Quran and Sunnah cannot be unfamiliar with this fact, that as the Prophet of Allah guided the Ummah through his practically established example and teaching regarding beliefs, creeds, worshipping and social norms, in the same way the Prophet of Allah also directed his people under the concepts of love and fear, conviction and trust, excellence and sincerity, purification and morale, that is the mental and spiritual. And for guidance sake, his entire life can be regarded as a role model and fine precedence for the Muslims. To sum up, like faith, belief and noble deeds, this is also a permanent and important sphere of deen, and this very domain is a special or specific subject matter for Sufism as well. Person of the Prophet was exact embodiment of these faculties, and companions of the Prophet were also somewhat of his status. And in the later ages, all the successors and followers were more or less attached to these noble deeds of supreme merit, and as the circle of Islam expanded, new situations emerged in which it was hard to be attached to these noble deeds in later and spirits, but still they observed and followed all these faculties according to their capacities and bent of minds, and consequently groups and sects were affected of jurists. Therefore, the main objective of Sufism and Suluk, mean travel, was this very sphere which basis for deen as its ideals, namely the love and fear of Allah, moral conduct and excellence, mental and spirituality status, and purification of the soul. Although the true understanding and comprehension of all these status and realization cannot be achieved through theoretical learning and studies, but it need to be in the company of Sufi and religious savant, so that the exact comprehension be experienced and be familiar with it. And for the acquisition of these practices and state, the only means according to Sunnah is to spend some time in the company of mistakes and Sufi for true and due understanding and training of this. That is why most of the people fail in familiarizing with this domain of deen, because they often miss the opportunity to be in the spiritual training and companionship. Islam doesn't view spirituality separately from everyday activities. In Islam, everything is spiritual because all actions must be in accordance with Allah's pleasure. This view comes from the Islamic creed and the Muslims' understanding of Tawheed. Tawheed means the oneness of Allah. This conviction creates a worldview, a perspective, and a unique behavior. It essentially means that all actions, from having a shower to picking up litter from the floor, should be referred to the Creator. This establishes a constant awareness, mindfulness, and consciousness of Allah is everything that the Muslim says or does. The understanding of spirituality in Islam is unlike the secular understanding. It is the constant reference to Allah and ensuring that everything he or she does is in accordance with Allah's pleasure. This consciousness is not static, it is dynamic. The level of Allah consciousness is dependent upon how close the Muslim is to his Allah. This personal relationship is established by following a unique program of activities that have been prescribed by Allah Himself. This spirituality program is also an effective means to change the negative habits of the Muslim. Some of these activities include remembrance of Allah, prayer, giving charity, fasting, reflecting on creation, meditation, reading and reflecting upon the Quran, memorizing the Quran, and daily supplications. The Prophet Muhammad emphasized on developing a good character by engaging a constant practice of prayer, meditation, remembrance of Allah, and other activities. As these actions change the heart and thereby bring one closer to Allah. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Inna fil jasadi muzghatun, iza saluhat saluhat al jasadu kulluhu, wa iza fasadat fasadat al jasadu kulluhu, ala wa hiya al qalb." Mean, verily, in the body there is a piece of flesh. If it is sound, the body is all sound. If it is correct, the body is all correct. Verily, it is the heart. Allah consciousness is an essential element in Islamic spiritual practice. Without it, the Muslims' behavior and attitude are corrupted. The benefits of Allah consciousness is derived from the Quran are: number one, guidance. Because of His words, guidance for the muttaqeen. And number two, help. Because of His words, truly Allah is with the people who have taqwa. Number three, closeness to Allah. Because of His words, Allah is the close friend of the muttaqeen. Number four, love. Because of His words, truly Allah loves the muttaqeen. Number five, a way out from unhappiness. Number six, facilitation of affairs. Seven, full covering over the wrong actions and magnification of reverse. Okay. There are numerous ayat, verses of the Holy Quran that indicate the importance of spirituality purification. Allah talks of the nafs, selfness, and says, "Qad aflaha man zakkaha wa qad khaba man dassaha." He has succeeded who purifies it, and he has failed who instills it with corruption. Furthermore, Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, is quoted in the Quran, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. And same while, كَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا فِيكُمْ رَسُولًا مِنْكُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِنَا وَيُزَكِّيكُمْ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. The following hadith is also the critical importance, has also critical importance in this regard. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ أَجْسَادِكُمْ وَلَا إِلَىٰ صُوَرِكُمْ بَلْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ. Mean, Allah shall not look at your bodies or your faces and your properties, but rather looks into your hearts. Islam has a unique view on spirituality as it encompasses all aspects of the Muslim's life. All actions that are referred to Allah are spiritual, and these actions include the supplications we utter before we go to bed, to the type of bank account we hold. Allah has prescribed certain actions that develop positive creators as well as bringing the Muslim closer to Allah, thereby attain Allah consciousness. This state achieves many things, including Allah's love, closeness, and divine assistance. May Allah make us purified in this world and in the next. Thank you.